Hi, I'm Sophie and welcome to my world. Today I have a great fall craft for you. The leaves are falling and this is the perfect way to use them. I call this leaf stenciling, and as you can see, if you look here, you can see that the paint has left leaf stencils. And so what I'm going to do is teach you how to make this. Now, to make these, we are going to basically be using paper, but you could be using anything that you want. You could use like newspaper print, so you could make it into like wrapping paper, or you could use cardboard and you could put it up as a display. You really can use whatever you want, but I'm going to be using paper today. And then you get to do my favorite thing, which is go for a hike and pick up leaves. So I've got a bunch of different kinds of leaves here, different shapes, different sizes. I love these ones. I love this ivy. You can get as many different shapes as you possibly can find. So I'm going to pull 4 out right here. You're going to need some watercolors. Now, I was lucky enough to find at my hobby store some watercolors in spray bottles. But if you can find liquid watercolors, you can just use your own spray bottles. And these don't have to be anything fancy. You can use, old spray bottles left over from cleaning supplies. Just make sure that you clean them really, really well. I'm also going to teach you how to do this on a t-shirt. And for that, we're going to be using acrylic paints, but I'll show you how to do that in just a second. First things first, I'm going to take my piece of paper and I'm going to use a piece of cardboard as my base underneath it because I'm going to be using some pins here. And the pins are going to hold my leaves in place. So it's really important that I have something underneath it so that I can pin through. So I've just got a piece of corrugated cardboard here. And I do have a tarp underneath as well. And the reason I have a piece of tarp is because I don't want there to be any spray that gets onto my nice countertop. You always want to make sure that you have a good, clean, solid surface to work on and that you put either paper down or plastic or garbage bags, something underneath it so that you don't get your area dirty. Okay, so I'm going to take my piece of paper here. I've got it placed on top. And I'm going to take these leaves and I'm just going to put a couple pins in. They don't need many, just so that they stay down. And I like this. I'm going to leave that. And you can place these in any sort of pattern that you want. And one of the really fun things about this is if you have a book, what's really great is if you have knowledge of the trees in your area, or if you have a book, you can actually, do a little nature studying while you're doing this collecting and doing this project. So I'm going to put this here and this here. My mom is amazing. She knows all about different kinds of trees and leaves and stuff. And I realized that, a lot of the kids in California, here we are surrounded by all this beauty, and they actually don't know the trees within our area. And I realized I don't know the trees within our area. But what was really interesting is I was working with a group of kids. We went out and we gathered the leaves, and then we got a book, and we actually went through the book looking for all the different leaves, and then we were able to identify what kind of tree they came from. And it was actually really fun. It's kind of detective work. So you can kind of do that when you're doing this project. Now, one thing that you do want to do is make sure that your pins are not over the paper. See how I have this one is over the paper? Because when you do your spray, what's going to happen is you end up with that pin shape, and we don't want that pin shape. So make sure that your pins face in on your leaves. There we go. Okay, and remember, leaves and pins are sharp, so make sure that you don't poke yourself. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is open up my watercolor spray here, and I'm just going to do, from about a foot away, I'm just going to give it a little spritz, like that. Spritz, 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 spritz. Now, you can stop right there, or if you want to, you can add another color or two, which is kind of fun. Now, when I take the leaves off, you'll see that they leave an impression behind. In the empty space, you will see your leaf. And the reason I call this leaf stenciling is because the leaves leave your pattern or your stencil behind. Now, one of the things that's really kind of fun to do is to come back and take a leaf and lay it over the place where it's been before, right? And then come back with a different color, like this. Let's try the lime green. And what's going to happen is it's going to fill in that area, but leave this area free. So isn't that neat? So you kind of get this little stripe effect happening. So you can really play with this, and you could see how you could do this on a really big, giant mural. Like everybody could take a little section and do their own area. The other thing that's kind of fun is that if you do them in a pattern, like if you put one leaf down and then another leaf down and another leaf down, you can actually create like animals and different shapes. Just remember that wherever your leaf is, you're going to be left with clean paper underneath it. So I could come back if I had a little marker here, and I could put a little face on here, and he could become, you know, he could become a, well, he looks kind of like a banana slug to me, but he could become a banana slug, he could become a butterfly, he could become whatever I wanted him to be. I'll show you on the t-shirt, in fact, that gives me a great idea. Okay, so I'm going to pull this over here, and I'm going to bring out my t-shirt. Now, what I've done with my t-shirt is the same sort of thing. I have put a piece of cardboard inside here because I'm going to want to, you know, push through with those pins. But the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I stretch my t-shirt out. And so it's always great to have like a piece of cardboard inside there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put these leaves off to the side because they are wet. And I'm going to create, as we talked about, I'm going to create actually something that's going to look like something else when it's all done. Let's see here. I hope I have the right leaves. Here we go. I'm going to make a butterfly. I'm going to use one small one here and small one here. There we go. And so I'm going to pin these in place. Now, to do a t-shirt, I'm going to want to make sure that it isn't going to wash out. The paint that I use isn't going to wash out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an acrylic paint. And acrylic is great because you can thin it to whatever consistency you want. Most acrylic paints come in containers like this. They come in bottles, and so you can really dilute them however you would like. Okay, so I'm going to pin this here, pin that there. And the reason I'm going to have to dilute it is because I'm going to need it to come through the spray bottle top. So I don't need these pins. I'm going to put those off to the side. Okay, I've got my artwork set, and this one I've already done, but I'm going to show you how to mix your paint. So I've got my little spray bottle here, and remember, like I said, you don't have to use one that you purchase. You can always use one that you've got from your old cleaning supplies or whatever. I'm going to fill the bottom of this with about 2 ounces, just the bottom part here. Let's see if I can get it to come out without. Sometimes it gets caught up in the top and then it comes out and goes, you don't want to do that. No. There we go. Sometimes it gets a big bloop in it. It's the only thing with acrylic paint. Okay, so I've got about, well, that's probably about 1 ounce. So I'm going to use a little less water than I had planned to. I'm going to fill this up to about the middle here. You want to do kind of like a 4-to-1 ratio. So 1 ounce of water, 4 ounces of, 1 ounce of paint, 4 ounces of water. So a little bit more. There we go. Put this on. Make sure you tighten it down really good. Put your finger over the top and give it a shake. Shake, 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 shake. Okay, now I got myself a shake. I'm going to turn this to the on position. And this one actually tells me where it's spray or stream. There we go. Okay, now, just to make sure I don't mess up my t-shirt, I'm going to give myself a tester here. There we go. Make sure it's all set. And again, step back about a foot. And just spray away. This is a great craft for little guys. And you know, one of the things that's easy to do with this is if you've got like a big tarp out, you can just put big pieces of paper, big t-shirts, they can just go, you know, and it's a little messy, but that's what's fun. Okay, so I'm going to take these away, put them on my cardboard here. Now your leaves will get a little messy and sloppy, but that's okay. Pull off the pins. Remember, if you're using little people, little hands, make sure somebody takes care of those pins for them. I'm going to pull these off without letting that extra pull off and onto my t-shirt. There we go. And now you can see my leaves have left a butterfly shape. So see, isn't that fun? And that's just done with leaves and a little bit of paint. And like I said, because this is acrylic, you can throw this into the wash and it'll stay forever and ever and ever. For more fabulous ideas for things to do in the nature and have a great time with your friends and kids, check us out at Sophie-World.com.